People think that people start falling in love with you when you're in their presence. The truth is that falling in love happens when you're not around. Falling in love happens in your absence. Just like your brain repairs itself and heals itself when you're asleep, people end up falling in love when you're not there. But unfortunately, the process of falling in love requires your absence. Too much presence, and you're gonna get in the way of that natural process. Let me explain to you why. Okay, look, what people want is their imagination to be turned up. What people want is their imagination to be stimulated. So, by the way, check out my new channel, Professor Alex. It's a channel that I created where I talk about spirituality, self-help, and topics like the ones you see here. It's completely different from the men's channel. So click on that right now, and there you'll be able to get 3 or 4 videos per week that you will never find on this channel. Okay, subscribe right now or else I'm closing it. Unfortunately, when you are around, people are not using their imagination. When you are in their presence, people are just looking at you, using their eyes, using their rationality and feeling your presence, right? The problem with that is that to fall in love requires fantasy. To fall in love requires desire. And you cannot create desire when you have something already in your face. You cannot fantasize about someone when they're consistently in your face. You need some time away from them so that your brain could begin to idealize them. Because people think that, oh, people will love me for me. People really fall in love with who I really am. The truth is, people don't really fall in love with who you really are. Yeah, they love you for you. They care for you. You know, it's almost like your mom, like let's just say you're a serial killer, right? Bob the serial killer. And she finds out that you killed 10 people. And she's still going to love you, right? She's still going to love you. She's realizing that you're a psychopath. But she's still gonna love you, and what is that? Well, this whole falling in love with who you are. If she was really reacting to who you are, she'll find you despicable, and she wouldn't love you. But the truth, people's love is not a thing that's based in reality. It's an irrational thing. It's something that unfortunately people never really love us for who we really, even your kids, right? Even your kids. A lot of kids think their parents are fucking angels, Superman. No, your parents are dumb, okay? They're the dumbasses. I met them. I know, sorry. But that's an example with kids, right? So imagination is what creates that love. Imagination is what builds the structure of love. And unfortunately, presence slows that down. What presence does, it gives your mind something to work with, an image, something to build upon. But the building happens when you're not there. I actually wrote about this. Watch this.
Imagination plays a vital role in shaping our perception of someone we love. When we're infatuated with someone, our minds often construct an idealized image of that person, accentuating their positive traits and overlooking their flaws.
And again, that's not based in reality, right? You got to understand, people who love you are ignoring your negative traits. So that's what I'm saying is that if they really if they really analyze you for who you are, they wouldn't love you. Like not to, I sound like such a negative person sometimes.
This imaginative process can lead to an idealized version of the individual, one that may not entirely align with reality. However, this idealized perception forms the basis of our emotional attachment and feelings of love.
Right? Because think about it. Why would a child still cling on to his parents who are hurting him? Right? It's not based on reality. There's something completely fundamentally irrational going on that you guys have to understand. That presence destroys this. Or better yet, presence to me allows you to really start thinking straight about this person. Right? Like
when we suffocate someone with too much presence and attention, we limit the opportunity for their imagination to shape their perception of us. This overbearing presence can hinder the natural imaginative process that contributes to the development and sustenance of romantic feelings. Furthermore, This excessive involvement can lead to feelings of suffocation and a diminished sense of autonomy for the other person, ultimately disrupting the normal ebb and flow of love.
Yeah, people don't like to feel like they're being forced to do something. And you're going to unconsciously signal that if you're too much in their presence. And also unconsciously signals that you are not at ease with yourself, that you have no self-love, that you have no true self-esteem that radiates from within you, that you don't have your own ecosystem of positive emotions.
From a neuroscience perspective, the phenomenon of reduced love due to excessive presence can be understood through the concept of habituation. The brain's reward system is wired to respond to novelty and unpredictability, which are key components of romantic attraction and attachment. When one
And you create the novelty through many different ways. And I could talk about that in another video, but an example is like when women have their makeup self versus their non-makeup self, right? For example, I love it when I wake up and the girl that I'm dating, she looks normal, right? Without makeup. I like it. But then it makes it so much more fun that whenever we go out, I'm like, oh my God, it's you again, that person, right? That the Cinderella effect, that's an example. Or even for guys, right? Where we have that Cinderella effect. I think we do. Yeah, we do, right? Where we have different looks. A perfect example of the Cinderella effect is David Bowie, right? For guys, where David Bowie dressed completely different, and he looked like a completely different person based on what he dressed. If you go Google David Bowie face, you'll notice that he does this. Let me show you, right? I want to show you here because David Bowie, right? Notice how he looks completely different based on how he dresses. Look right here. All of these look completely different people, and the only thing that he is doing is dressing different, right? So literally having a masculine way of dressing, and then one day maybe a feminine way of dressing, and then maybe one day you're like just completely different styles produces this effect.
One's presence becomes constant and predictable, the brain's response to their presence. When one's presence becomes constant and predictable, the brain's response to their presence may diminish over time. This is akin to how repeated exposure to a stimulus can lead to a decreased physiological response.
Like, for example, I have ringing in my ear, which sometimes doesn't annoy me, but I've gotten to the point where sometimes I don't even notice it, or sometimes I have like the dots, the things that move, the black dots in your eye, floaters. I don't notice it anymore. Before I used to. And sometimes when you are consistently there, people stop noticing your uniqueness, your beauty. You know, it's just human nature, and you have to understand that.
Therefore, an overabundance of presence may lead to a decrease in the brain's reward response associated with romantic love.
It doesn't produce the same reward response. It's so fucking true.
Potentially reducing the intensity of one's feelings towards the suffocating party.
And so to fix that, you just have to give them space. Unfortunately, a lot of people never come to that simple conclusion because they're too insecure. They don't even want to think about the thought of leaving them or giving them space because they are afraid that if they give their lovers space, they're going to find somebody else who's better than them. But the truth is that to stand out from other people, what you have to understand is that if you're with someone that spends 20 hours with someone versus spending 5 hours with someone, understanding this principle will let you understand that the one who spends 5 hours, that person is going to think of the person that they spent 5 hours with more than somebody who's consistently suffocating them with their presence. It's just that simple.